there were rules, as you said, there were laws in place for what to do when you discharged a wife or a concubine or somebody who had borne you children. Yeah, there's a lot of laws. We're going to look at just a couple of the laws. The most contemporaneous laws came from Hammurabi. There's 4 of them in particular we probably want to look at. This is Law 137. If a man wish to separate from a woman who has borne him children, or from his wife who has borne him children, then he shall give that wife her dowry and part of the usufruct of, let me just try that again. And part of the usufruct, you know what, we're going to look this word up. There's no way I'm going to pronounce this correctly. And this word is not from this century. We shouldn't even be attempting to read it. Okay, so let's go back. If a man wish to separate from a woman who has borne him children, or from his wife who has borne him children, then he shall give that wife her dowry and a part of the gleanings of the field, the garden, and property, so that she can rear the children. So we'll pause right there. So first of all, the goal of this law was to provide the woman, whether it was a wife or a concubine or a maidservant, with enough that the raising of the children can be accomplished. So we'll move on. When she has brought up her children, a portion of all that is given to the children equal to that of one son shall be given to her. She may then marry the man of her heart. So here there are provisions made in the Code of Hammurabi to take care of the woman and the child until the child is of age. Law 138 says, if a man wishes to separate from his wife, who has borne him no children, he shall give her the amount of her purchase money, that's the bride price, and the dowry which she brought from her father's house and let her go. So in Law 138, a woman who's not borne children to a man, even if she leaves the union without a child, she still gets at least her purchase price back. Mm-hmm. We have to assume that the maidservant Hagar had a purchase price when she was purchased as a maidservant from Egypt. There's no mention of her getting that purchase price back. Right? Hammurabi 146, if a man take a wife and she give this man a maidservant as wife, so now we're talking about what happened with Sarah and Hagar, and she bear him children, and then this maid assume equality with the wife, because she has borne him children, her master shall not sell her for money, but he may keep her as a slave, reckoning her among the maidservants. So there's something happening here that's interesting, where if a maidservant has a child and that maidservant gets kind of full of herself because she born a child to the master and she now thinks that she's equal, even though she has this newfound sense of self-worth and it may be problematic for her, the law is stating you can't just get rid of her. You can't just go sell her. You know what I mean? Like she still has to be taken care of. The only way in which you would get rid of the slave woman is, it says in Law 147, if she has not borne him any children, then her mistress may sell her for money. So if Hagar had not borne any children to Abraham, it would be very customary for her to be sold off, if that's what Sarah wanted to do. But since she did have children with Abraham, she deserved special treatment. The Hittite laws. Law 27, if a man take a wife and carries her to his house, he takes her dowry with her. If the woman dies, they turn her property into the property of a man, or of the man, and the man also receives her dowry. But if she dies in the house of her father and there are children, the man will not receive her dowry.
All right, what's Hittite?
The Hittite territory is Anatolia, basically modern Turkey. So this was north of Palestine, right below the Black Sea on the northeast portion of the Mediterranean. So here, this Hittite law dealing with the dowry is basically just stating, hey, if a woman leaves her husband, so she's in her father's house now. Doesn't say if she left him or if he sent her away. That seems to be irrelevant for this law. It just says if she's living apart from her husband, so they broke up. If she has children, then she gets her dowry back, right? I would imagine that if there's a slave girl, there was a treatment for that as well. You would get your purchase price back, just like we saw in the Code of Hammurabi. Hittite Law 31, if a free man and a slave girl are lovers and they cohabitate, he takes her for his wife, and they found a family together and have children, but subsequently, either as a quarrel or they reach a friendly agreement, they break up. So this is very similar to what happened with Abraham and Hagar. They break up the family. The man receives the children, but the woman receives one child. So here, this is kind of a strange. The woman gets at least one child, assuming here it's going to be a son, so that she has somebody to take care of her in her old age. Because again, she is deserving of at least some kind of treatment. And we see with Hagar, this is the only thing that Hagar actually gets when she splits is her son. That's it. No dowry, no purchase. She probably didn't have a dowry. She was a slave. But she at least was bought with some sort of a purchase price, didn't get that back. There's an interesting law from the Greco-Roman culture. The Gortine laws were roughly, 5th and 6th century BCE. So we're talking about 1,500 years after Abraham. But these laws are probably much older. It's just a matter of when they were actually codified. Basically, in Greco-Roman culture, it was expected that if you were a divorcee and you had a child, if you couldn't bring that child up, there were no provisions for you or for the child, it was acceptable to let it die in the heat of the desert. But even with this law, there's an expectation that you should be taken care of because you've had a child, right? The laws, Esh Nuna 59, these are really old laws. If a man divorces his wife after having made her bear children and takes another wife, he shall be driven from his house and from whatever he owns, and may go after him who will accept it. So this is really interesting. If you have children with a woman here in the ancient Esh Nuna laws, you're actually not allowed to take another wife. Now, this does not seem to be a common law in the ancient world. So anyways, all that to say, in the ancient world, it was at least customary to provide the mother of your child and that child with some kind of provision.